Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute whirlwind that is the 17-year journey of BTS. We're going to map out exactly how this incredible underdog group went from sharing a tiny, humid dorm room to just complete global stadium domination. And honestly, why their story is an absolute must-know for anyone trying to break the mold.
All right, so here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at 1. The underdog origins. 2. Voice of a generation. 3. Breaking global barriers. 4. Seasons of solo growth. And finally, number 5. The Arirang reunion tour.
You know, the whole thing really starts with one massive question. How exactly did this anomaly, 7 boys who the mainstream establishment considered way too loud, too raw, and totally unconventional, how did they become the biggest band in the entire world?
Section 1. The underdog origins. The seed in the dust, spanning from 2010 to 2013.
Okay, so let's set the scene in the early 2010s, deep in the highly engineered South Korean music industry. The contrast during this time is just wild. On one side, you've got these wealthy, manufactured agencies. They were like finely tuned machines, all about polished perfection, precise moves, and massive budgets. But on the other side, you've got the nearly bankrupt big hit entertainment. BTS actually started out in a cramped dormitory in Nonhyeon-dong. They were raw anomalies sleeping in single bunk beds, literally sharing the exact same humid air. It's kind of mind-blowing when you realize just how massive of a disadvantage they started with.
But gathering in that tiny dorm, these 7 underdogs formed this incredibly unique puzzle. Each piece was totally different, right? You had RM's linguistic intellect and heavy cadence, which really started it all. Jin learning from absolute zero with his quiet grace, and then down to a 15-year-old Jungkook clutching his duffel bag, just packed with terrifying raw talent. Throw in Suga's fiercely independent underground producing, J-Hope's unyielding street discipline, Jimin's modern dance perfectionism, and V's soulful, unstructured imagination. They were just a completely different breed from anything else out there.
Section 2. Voice of a generation. The Chronicle of Youth, spanning 2015 to 2017.
Moving into this next era, they really had to survive years in the trenches. While major groups were easily filling up domes, BTS was out handing out flyers on the streets of LA for free concerts. But that hustle? That's what forged their true, authentic voice. They weren't just singing about generic romance. No, they were writing about generational pain, academic pressure, and real economic despair. Just listen to this lyric. My youth is burning out, running wild in the middle of the dark. It's okay, even if it's slow, I'll walk with you. That 2015 turning point was huge because it resonated so deeply. It built this intimate bridge with their fans, ARMY, proving they were really just companions stumbling through the dark together.
And then, following the psychological depth of their 2016 album Wings, they pulled off the impossible. They actually took home the 2016 Mama Artist of the Year award. When they bowed their heads on that stage, those tears were pure proof that their unfiltered connection was working. I mean, it was absolute vindication for every single closed door and derogatory label they had ever faced up to that point.
Section 3. Breaking global barriers. The sound barrier shatters from 2017 to 2020.
So this is where a tectonic shift happens, forcing the historically insular Western music industry to finally wake up and pay attention. They didn't just casually knock on the door of the American red carpet, they literally kicked it down. By taking home Top Social Artist at the 2017 Billboard Music Awards, they shattered a massive 6-year streak held by mainstream Western pop royalty. They forced an industry that was deeply skeptical of non-English art to stop and watch them rise.
Let's just track this meteoric timeline for a second. In 2018, RM is urging the world to speak yourself in a landmark UN speech, and that exact same year they score the very first Korean #1 on the Billboard 200. Fast forward to 2019, they're earning 3 #1 albums in a single year and selling out Wembley Stadium. Then in 2020, they blast straight to the top of the Hot 100 with Dynamite, scoring their first Grammy nomination. They conquered the absolute summit without changing their language to fit the room. Instead, they made the room learn theirs. Honestly, it's a masterclass for all of us in how absolute authenticity can topple entrenched systems.
Section 4. Seasons of solo growth. The chapter of seasons, taking us from 2022 to the present.
Right when their superstardom peaked, the group met the immovable reality of mandatory South Korean military service. This meant a massive pivot.
But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. They didn't frame this as a hiatus. At their 2022 Festa dinner, they called it the autumn shedding. They looked at military service not as an ending, but as an intentional, totally necessary season of individual exploration before a new spring could arrive.
And what a season it was! Each member embarked on a historic solo journey that totally redefined their personal artistry. The paths they took were amazing. You had Jimin making history with his ethereal vocals hitting #1 on the Hot 100, J-Hope commanding Lollapalooza with this incredible experimental hip-hop, and Jungkook just shattering streaming records left and right as a global pop titan. Meanwhile, Suga traversed the globe laying bare his deepest vulnerabilities on his August D tour, RM delivered these gorgeous genre-bending masterpieces, V leaned heavily into a nostalgic, jazz-infused romantic longing, and Jin delighted fans with witty variety content and a heartfelt military discharge. What's so wild to me is how they all managed to thrive so individually, finding totally distinct sounds while still remaining a perfectly unified entity.
Section 5. The Arirang Reunion Tour. The Era of Arirang, from 2026 to the present. As the members returned to civilian life one by one, the horizon shifted toward the epic reunion the whole world had been waiting for. Nearly 6 years after their last full group release, they unleashed their 5th Korean-language studio album, Arirang, on March 20, 2026. This beautiful meditation on identity, longing, and deep-rooted connection gave us massive hit singles like Swim, 2.0, Hooligan, and Normal. And get this, they celebrated it with an unprecedented global Netflix broadcast, streamed live right from Seoul's historic Gwanghwamun Square. The sheer scale of this comeback was breathtaking.
To match that energy, they launched an unbelievable 360-degree stage tour, bridging cultures across continents. They rolled this out in 3 massive steps. Step 1 kicked off in Asia at Goyang Stadium before tearing right through North America in the spring. Step 2 brought them back for an emotionally charged homecoming and global cinema broadcast at the Busan Asiad Main Stadium in June. And finally, Step 3 had them sweeping through massive international stadiums across Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia well into the summer and fall.
But through the entire whirlwind, the foundation of it all remains this exact number, 7. Just 7 ordinary young men from a sidelined, nearly bankrupt label who looked up at the towering walls of the world and simply chose to stand together.
This latest tour really stands as a living monument to a bond that survived time, military duty, and an incredibly volatile global music landscape. So as they continue to build new bridges across the globe today, it definitely leaves us with one pretty amazing question to think about. What walls are they going to tear down next?